factorization is the opposite of expansion. So in expansion, we multiplied to get rid of the brackets. In factorization, we are going to divide to get back the brackets. So what I'm going to do is expand first and get rid of the brackets. And then I'm going to take my answer and factorize it and get back the brackets. So that I'll show you how factorization is the opposite of expansion. So I'll multiply 3 by 2x and I will get 6x. Then I'll multiply 3 by the y and get 3y. So that's expansion. Now I'm going to take the answer that I got, which is the 6x plus 3y, and I'm going to factorize it. And when I factorize it, I'm supposed to get back this expression. So what I'm going to do is look at the two terms that I have, which is the 6x plus the 3y. And what I'm going to look for is the highest common factor between the two terms. So I'm looking to see what's common between the two terms, but I also want the highest number that's common between the two terms. That's because 1 could go into any number. Now remember, in mathematics, we use symbols to represent numbers that we don't know. So this is 6 multiplied by x. So x is a symbol to represent a number that we don't know. This is 3 multiplied by y. So y is a symbol to represent a number that we don't know. And since x and y are symbols to represent numbers that we don't know, that means 1 can go into them. And that is why we want the highest common factor, because the lowest thing that could go into any number is the number 1. So looking at 6x and 3y, our highest common factor is 3, because 3 can go into 3y and 3 can go into 6x. So what I'll do, I'll write that 3 and then open brackets, and then I'm going to divide that 6x with the 3. So 6x divided by 3 will give me 2x. And then I'm going to divide the 3y with the 3 and I'll get y. And that's your answer. So we can clearly see when we factorize this expression, we get this expression with the brackets. And when we expand that expression with the brackets, we got this. So factorization is the opposite of expansion. Now in question 3, we are asked to factorize m to the power 5 take away m to the power 7. Now m to the power 1 will be the lowest thing that can go into both these two terms. Now remember, I want the highest thing that can go into both terms. Now m to the power 7 is too big to go into m to the power 5, and therefore I can't use it. But m to the power 5 can go into m to the power 7, and therefore m to the power 5 would be the highest thing that can go into both terms. So I'll write the m to the power 5 outside the brackets. And now I'll divide m to the power 5 by m to the power 5, and I'll get 1. And then I'll divide m to the power 7 with m to the power 5, and now remember, we are dividing, the bases are the same, therefore we can subtract the powers. So 7 take away 5 would give you 2. So what I'll get is m to the power of 2, which is m squared. Now in question 4, I have to factorize 3x squared y plus 5x y to the power 4. Now when I look at the numbers, the only thing that's common there is 1. So I'll write that. And then when I look at the symbols, I have x squared and x. So x squared will be too big to go into x, so what I'll be using is x. So I write that. Then I look at the y's, and y to the power 4 will be too big to go into y, so I'll be using y. Now that I have my highest common factor, I open my brackets, and now I'll divide both terms by 1xy. So you can look at the numbers first. 3 divided by 1 will give you 3. X squared divided by x to the power 1. Remember, the bases are the same, so we can subtract the powers. So 2 take away 1 will give you 1, and x to the power of 1 is simply x. And now y divided by y will give you 1. Now we're going to divide the 1xy with 5xy to the power 4. So I divide 5 with 1 and get 5. x would cancel and give you 1. And y to the power of 4 will divide with y, and that will give you y to the power of 3. Now 1xy is understood to be xy, so you don't necessarily have to write the 1 in front of the xy. So what I'll have is xy, open brackets, and 3 multiplied by x multiplied by 1 will simply give you 3x. And 5 multiplied by 1 multiplied by y cubed would give you 5y cubed. And that's your answer. Now in question 5, I have negative 2 p squared q to the power of 3 plus 4 p cubed by q. Because the first term is negative, I will write my highest common factor as negative. So I look to see what's common between the two terms. Let's look at the numbers first. So I have 2 and I have 4. So obviously the highest common factor between 2 and 4 is 2. And as I said, we are writing our highest common factor as negative because our first term is negative. Then we look at the p squared and the p cubed. So we'll be using the p squared because p cubed cannot go into p squared. And we look at the q to the power 3 and q. So we'll use the q because q to the power 3 cannot go into q. So now I open my brackets and I'm going to divide. First I'm going to divide negative 2 with negative 2, and that will give me positive 1. Now I divide p squared with p squared, and that will cancel out and give me 1. And now q to the power 3 with q to the power 1, I subtract the powers, 3 take away 1, and that will give me q squared. Now I divide this positive 4 with this negative 2, and I'll get negative 2. Because you are dividing a positive with a negative, you will get a negative number. Then I divide p to the power 3 with p to the power 2, so I subtract the powers, 3 take away 2, and I'll get 1, so that will be p to the power of 1, which is simply p. And when I divide q with q, I will simply get 1. So now I multiply 1 times q squared, and I'll simply get q squared. And 2 times p times 1 will simply give me 2p. And that's your answer.